Good afternoon. It's April 4th, 2023, and today we had two legs down, two measured legs down. Um, After prices bounced at that measured move, we had a break of this channel, and during the during today we didn't make a new low. You can see we attempted to make a new low, but it doesn't look like we did. So we'll take a look at the trades. Maybe I missed something early in here. Usually what happens is I'm watching the MES for a few hours and then I'll switch over and start marking trades. So maybe I missed something in here, but early on, the day did have a downward bias. As you can see, we're making lower highs. So I mean, even as we were going down here and we're barely breaking below the overnight lows, it just had a downward feel to it. So and you can see the midline is the opening price. So this stuff happens a lot, and it's really worth marking this up to see that stuff, because that helps give you the context. I mean, that would make me think, hey, we might test these highs, but as prices were selling off, you just get a feel for it, and it didn't have a range feel. It didn't have a strong downward feel, in my opinion, but had the range feel. So 5 o'clock probably comes in this downward trend. So you'd probably be thinking, maybe I'll get a long after the trend line break. You can see that trend line, because it looks like after the fact we didn't attempt to make a new high. You get this lower high here. We come down to the EMA. That I'd probably view this as a double top. So the first entry, second entry fails right here, and that just gave it a downward feel to it right into the open. We continue to sell off into the open. Unfortunately, this is just the first entry. It kind of looks like a second entry, though. If you're feeling really aggressive, maybe you take that. It is at the midline and the opening level. I'm not going to mark it, though. But you got to break two legs down to a new low before it reverses. I don't like this reversal setup, unfortunately. This kind of looks like a second entry long, first entry, second entry, but by the time you're going long, you're going into new highs. But I'm going to mark that because it kind of looks like that's where, I mean, it looks like a failure kind of, but that's being very aggressive. And I think you'd have to be really advanced to take that trade, because I mean we do bounce off this support, and you do get a break of this channel and a couple legs to a new low, and it's a higher low. It's a higher low off the failure right there. So something to think about. Then you get this super bullish bar right here. And we bounce off the key entry point, what ends up being the key entry point. We correct, and we really just go sideways, and we come off the key entry point, but you wouldn't really know this is a key entry point until right here. Huge sell-off, and you get a first entry, second entry, but if you're following the rules, that signal bar does not qualify, so you wouldn't have gotten trapped there. And then you get the third entry, fourth entry, so you can't take anything there. Is this a lower high? No, that's a matching high right there. So anyway, you get this steep move down, and that's right there too. When we break below the overnight lows, and then we come back and we bounce right there and have a nice sell-off again and make a new low. that's when you should be pretty confident that we're going lower. You come down here and you do get a new low from this channel, but you then get a double test right here off the EMA. And you could, this is when I had this channel, and you can see that midline. Prices are responding to that midline. Right there, we get another response to it. So I'm expecting prices to test this midline. Okay, and then we come down here, go a little further from the EMA, comes back, test the EMA again. So that's like a quadruple test, nice signal bar. Again, I'm expecting prices to test this midline before going to this side of the channel. You can see that doesn't even happen. So you do get a first entry, failed second entry long. It doesn't touch the EMA though. And personally, in real time, after it bounced off the midline, I was expecting prices to come back to this side of the channel. But it turns out this is a steeper channel, and we keep going lower before we become very oversold, and the buying comes back in, and we form this range, and you get a double test here with a nice bearish signal bar. I marked it red. I could see why people might view it as green, but it looks like a double test to me, and prices are very clearly going back and forth here. So I'm okay with that one. We come back, test that price level again, breakout. The breakout fails. You get a first entry, failed second entry. Personally, I'm not going to take this, but I think somebody who's been watching these charts for 10, 15 years, you might take this. So prices sell off. They can't hit the low of the channel. I don't see any way you can sneak in this move down. That's probably not. That's probably not a trend channel people were playing. Maybe so, because you get the overshoot here. But I think most people, if your chart looks like mine, most people would be playing this, and yeah, that looks better. So, and that would make sense because you get a failure right here. So this kind of looks like a second entry right here. I don't think you want to take that. Break, couple legs to a new low, and it reverses. So this looks like a nice spike in channel to me, and we just bounced at that measured move. So if you have that, you're reading this context, I think you can. I don't think you can take this second entry long, but I think you can take this one, first entry, second entry. That might be a little too early, but I think the reason I like that is it looks like we have one leg of correction, two legs up, and then a little two-legged correction, and it looks like two legs back. So, I mean, again, I think this is probably one for people who have been reading charts for like 10 to 15 years plus. But so maybe this one's green, but I think this one's definitely blue. Looks like this doesn't look like a new high. First entry, second entry confirms that spike in channel. And then you get a first entry, failed second entry short right here. It really triggers right here above this bar. But this is where you can clearly see people are trapped. So maybe you go long there. And I mean, maybe the people who are super advanced go long right there. But anyway, we come into this side of the channel. The midline holds prices for a bit before the sellers come back in. We find support on the main channel for the day, go sideways a little bit before selling off. And maybe you take this lower high right here because you get a first entry, second entry. This looks like a double bottom. First entry, second entry, lower high. We're expecting a new low from this channel, so maybe you be a little aggressive. Okay, it doesn't go very far before we go into this sideways stuff. And you got a second entry short right here. Uh, but you never know. All this bullish momentum, I'm not personally going to take that. You can see it went sideways a little bit, but anyway, come down here, make a new low. I don't think you want to go long in these ranges. Here you're going long because it looks like a trend. So I don't think you want to go long in these ranges. But anyway, you get a first entry, second entry. I like this one. There's some room to the EMA. This is a proven level of resistance. Kind of looks like this is the double test. But it's not very clear. It kind of looks like this is just the first test. So that's aggressive. I don't think you want to take this lower high, but maybe you do. And that brings us to the end of the day. And it looks like we spiked up and went into a little channel to close the day, but we're well below the opening price for the day. So it's a down day, two measured legs down, probably just a correction because overall it looks like the market is trending up. So I hope everyone had a great day, and I'll be back tomorrow.